The Eagles roll to their first district win. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the H&S Septic Services Brock Eagle Football Show. As the Eagles beat Eagle Mountain 41-13 in a game that started out real hot for Brock. Two big plays, opening kickoff return, and then a big pass play. It's 14-0. It looks like you're going to cruise, and then Eagle Mountain pulls out a couple of trickery plays, and it makes it 14-13. And then from that point on, Brock took over. They go to 1-0 in district. By the way, we'll start doing district standings each week on this show. So 3-4A Division II, Brock is 1-0, Graham is 1-0, Mineral Wells is 1-0, Bridgeport, Burke, Burnett, and Eagle Mountain are all 0-1. I'll go ahead and give you schedules too. Of course, Brock's taking on Mineral Wells. Graham and Bridgeport is playing, and then Burke, Burnett, and Eagle Mountain is playing in district this week. So we'll start to see a little bit more shuffling of the table. I think Eagle Mountain will join the win ranks and be 1-1. The curious thing is, will they be the only 1-1 team? I think they will. I think you're going to have a couple of 2-0s, and then, or I'm sorry, them and Mineral Wells. I do think Brock will beat Mineral Wells. Them and Mineral Wells will be 1-1. The playoffs, with Mineral Wells beating Bridgeport, if they can beat Burke Burnett and nothing else weird happens, your playoffs are going to be set. It's going to be Brock. It's going to be Eagle Mountain, Graham, and Mineral Wells. We just don't know the exact seeding of that. I want to thank our sponsor, and of course, that's H&S Septic Services. You can find them online at hssepticservicetext.com. You can give them a call, 682-214-6003. That's 682-214-6003. 1 year labor warranty. They honor almost all manufacturer warranties. They do have discounts. They serve Parker and Hood. They also serve a lot of the other surrounding counties. So just reach out to them and see if they would help you with your septic needs. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, it is the head coach of the Brock Eagles, Coach Billy Mathis, right here on the Brock Eagle Football Show. Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie, and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. Terry Bennett back here on the Brock Eagle Football Show. Now joined by the head coach, Coach Billy Mathis. And Coach, 1-0 in district play. Probably your toughest team of the year outside of maybe Decatur. Great win. What were your thoughts?
Man, just you're a nervous wreck going in because you're starting district play, then you're playing a team like Eagle Mountain who's so good, So I was very proud of us. Of course, we started so hot. Levi Dean returning the opening kickoff, down. We go up 14-0. The next thing you know, it's 13-14 in a snap of a finger. What I was so excited about, man, there was never any panic from the boys. Just like, hey, listen, they got us on a couple, fake punt, and they got us on this and that. Go in there and keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna be all right. So, we did a good job of controlling our emotions, right? We hadn't really been pushed like that so early, so fast this year. So I was very proud of the way we stayed cool, stayed calm, and everybody went out there and just kept doing their job, and it's kind of, what you got to do. It's got to be 4 quarters. I always talk to them about, don't look at the scoreboard. Don't look at the scoreboard. Just play each and every play. And if you'll do that, you'll be all right. So I was excited about the win, excited about the way we went out and played. And, man, it's nice to get on that winning streak here and start a district.
Talking around the 4A coaches around the state like we do each week and just kind of gleaning them and stuff. And, we've talked about your offensive ad nauseum and rightfully so, but a lot of coaches that have seen game film keep telling me that somehow y'all might be a better defensive squad in total than y'all had over the last few years.
Man, I'll say this. We're not as big as we have been in the past, but you want to talk about a bunch of dudes who, got a lot of pride and got a lot of smart football guys, and they trust what their job is. And I think that's the biggest key for our team is, being selfless, playing your position, doing your job, and trusting that the guy next to you is going to do your job. Because if you're going to be a good defense, you got to be disciplined. And this team is as disciplined as I've ever had. We don't have huge playmakers out there, these big, quote unquote, 5 stars or anything like that. But we got a lot of hard nosed football playing machines.
And I don't think people understand. And you and I were talking about the running back for Eagle Mountain. He doesn't have a big name statewide, but this is a guy that's going to be a borderline D1 athlete, and y'all did a good job on him.
Yeah, he's scary as can be because he gets past the linebackers. He can go the distance. It don't matter where he's at on the field. But the guys did a great job of bottling him up. And again, it goes back to that whole discipline, selfless thing. Defensive ends go do their job. Linebackers reading their keys, safeties reading theirs. And getting down and gang tackling. We went and watched film, man, and there were so many plays. We had 4, 5, 6 guys at the point of attack, and the backside guys, they were running through the echo of the whistle. So, that's a big shout out to those guys and the way they play and how much they care about being there. Because this, you're standing back there on that backside. If you're thinking, hey, those guys got it over there, it never fails. Somebody's going to slip out and they're going to cut back, and you've been over there loafing, and all of a sudden they give up a touchdown. So, a lot of pride in doing your job and trying to get to that ball before that whistle blows.
Well, and you talked about y'all kind of got caught looking at a couple early on the trick plays, but isn't that kind of a good thing for a coach because it allows you to remind the players as y'all's been dominating that, hey, this still can get you in trouble if you don't, as you say, play your containment and read your keys.
Sure, 100%. It's you hate it when it happens. When it happens and you're able to go back and coach it up after a win, it makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, heck yeah, man. They ran old boot throwback. The quarterback rolled right and tailback did a good job of kind of sneaking out, and all of a sudden he exploded out of the backfield, and we just saw him late. And I think Matlock did a great job of running him down. Getting him down there and getting him down there on the 1 or 2, and it took him a couple of plays to be able to get it into the end zone. So. And that's kind of a little proof in the pudding. Do your job, keep your eyes where they need to be disciplined. If you do that, it makes your job a lot better, and it's a trust factor. So yes, when it happens, you're glad you're able to go coach it up and say, this is why we do this.
All right. Well, you face your second district foe this week, Mineral Wells. Of course, Cody Worrell was a coordinator there at Brock. Last year was a weird game. You ended up winning 21-0, but they threw the kitchen sink at you, and that's kind of what they do with Worrell does with Mineral Wells. Are you expecting more of that this week?
Oh, 100%. I mean, whether it's some sort of a flea flicker, reverse pass, bounce pass, hide out, everybody calls them all the different little plays, the old bummerooski, we spent more time this week working on trick plays than we have all year long combined, but, it's part of their identity and what they do. Some people's like, how do you spend so much time on that? Well, it's part of how they do things. So we've got to do a good job of defending it. And one thing, it goes back, and I know it sounds very boring, but you got to have great eye discipline and get your eyes where they belong. So you don't, fall for one of those type of plays. And they're a very good football team. They're going to line up and they're running smash mouth football, and you got to go win the line of scrimmage. You got to go make sure you go and take on blocks, and you can't run around blocks. As soon as you run around blocks, they're going to get 3 or 4 yards, and, they're very patient. They enjoy getting 3 yards. They want to just stay ahead, 3rd and short, go get a first down, keep the ball, and control the clock. We've got to go and put them in a situation that they don't want to be in. We got to win first down. We got to get them off the field on 3rd downs.
And defensively for them, they're athletic, but they've, as you say, have struggled with their eye discipline at times, giving up some big plays. But they like to create big plays as well.
They do. They've got a brand new defensive coordinator over there, and, man, he's done a great job. They're very sound at what they do, and, it's learning the new defense, So I know that they had been known to run the old 10-1 or special or bear, whatever anybody calls it. So, we're prepared if they jump into that, and we're prepared for 4-3 stuff. So, they're a good football team, and Cody's done an amazing job over there with them. And you can tell, man, that they're ready to play, and they've had some big wins this season. They've had a couple close losses, but watching film, they've gotten better and better and better week in and week out.
Speaking of Worrell, this is the 10th year anniversary of the 2015 Brock State Championship game. The thing that I think is awesome about this is not only is they're going to be in attendance, both Cody and Chad, but also your team. I mean, that's the team they grew up probably idolizing. That's 10 years ago, right in that wheelhouse when these guys that are playing now were starting to fall in love with football.
Heck yeah, man. You got, all those guys, Seth Bowman and Letty French and all the guys that were on that state championship team, Tyler Gray, all those guys. Our boys watched them growing up. They were their idols. So I hope they all get to make it back tonight and get to watch this group of young men that I have now, who they inspired, to go play the way that they play, who they went and watched win a state championship down there in Houston. So I'm excited that they get an opportunity to come back and celebrate this 10-year reunion. And, for our boys, you're right. It is exciting for them to see some of their childhood idols and heroes be out there at our game.
As always, I do want to thank the coach for joining us. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, Terry at S2SSport.com. Going to be a fun night celebrating the 10th year anniversary of the state championship game. I was down in Houston at that game. In fact, that was the night that I talked to Coach Worrell about doing a coach's show, and we started a coach's show the next year. That's right. We've been doing a coaching show almost 9 years here for the Brock Eagles, first with Coach Worrell and now, of course, with Coach Mathis. Great game that was, back and forth until Travion Smith's injury. Of course, he tragically passed away a couple years ago in a drowning. That game was setting up for just a complete classic, and then after he got hurt and a couple other injuries, Brock was able to kind of start to grind down Yeoman. People forget Cameron Yo was going for their 4th straight state championship. That was a power program after that moment. So enjoy that. It's awesome that Coach Cody Worrell, Foreman Ruels, and of course Chad Worrell, who's now at Pilot Point, but he happened to have an off week this week. It worked perfect. So they're celebrating it with them on the field. I think that's going to be cool. Enjoy it. And as Coach Mathis talked about, it's really cool for the kids playing now because when they were starting to fall in love with football at that age, because I remember that was the age I was, 6, 7, 8 years old, man. That's when you're not even wanting to watch football because you want to go out and play it in the backyard on Saturdays and Sundays. You want to play yard ball. You want to play behind the high school stadium. At least where I grew up, we could play football behind the stadium. And so they look up to these guys. And so that's really cool for them to get to see them come back home and celebrate that 10 years. All right, that's going to do it for this week. Again, we want to thank our title sponsor of the show, H&S Septic Services. You can give them a call, 682-214-6003. And until next week, this is the Brock Eagle Coaches Show.